We are live with another Ovadia Heart Health Telemedicine live stream, and today I am honored and privileged to have Dr. Eric Rodgers as a guest. I met Dr. Rodgers at Symposium for Metabolic Health in San Diego several years back, and I've run into him at several symposiums over the years. And Eric has an incredible story, which I'm going to let him share with us. And I've been looking forward to this for a while. Before we start, I need to put up our medical disclaimer and just let everyone know that whatever is discussed today is not medical advice, and nothing that we talk about is a substitute for professional treatment by a licensed healthcare professional. You are advised to seek the care of a qualified doctor or medical professional when undertaking any changes to nutrition, diet, or fitness, including anything we talk about here today. If you would like information regarding a medical consultation with Ovadia Heart Health, please email us at team@ifixhearts.com. And with that out of the way, I will bring on Eric Rodgers, who has had an incredible personal journey that involves mental health struggles and the ketogenic diet. And I really would like, Eric, you to sort of tell our listeners about where you were before you found the ketogenic diet with your mental health, and what happened. I know you were on a lot of medications, and I know ultimately you found a solution in a way that a lot of people cast doubts on and aspersions. So tell us about that.
So I started out having weight issues as I was growing up, actually, and struggled with my weight through grade school. Going to college, I decided I wanted to not go to college overweight, so I actually managed to lose a little bit of weight. So now I'm in college, and by the time I'm in optometry school, I start exercising to control my weight. And during optometry school, I start showing now what I know was signs of metabolic syndrome. I had high blood pressure, the waist was going up, my other lipid numbers and all were showing metabolic syndrome. So I keep going forward. I have a successful career as an optometrist, and I have a very busy practice. And then I'm just still muddling along with high blood pressure and high triglycerides and low HDL, classic signs of metabolic syndrome. And all the doctor says is, lose 10 pounds. And I'm still running along. I'm now at age 40. I'm saying, well, I'll get serious about this. I'll start running marathons. Still on blood pressure medicine. And maybe around age 45, I get put on a statin because I didn't, maybe my cholesterol was high. I'm not sure. Okay, so there we are at 45. And at 40, I start running marathons, and then we'll fast forward. I had some anxiety issues in my early 40s and even in childhood. I've always been an anxious worrier. So now here we are at 45 running marathons and start to get depressed. And that's when I start seeing a psychiatrist. My family doctor put me on Paxil, and it interested me at the time. I got dramatically worse, and I now studied this a lot, and that's possible. One medicine might work for one person, not make the other person worse.
Tell us about how the depression manifested itself and how it affected your life and your family.
Yeah. And so over the years, it varied. There were three. I had I was on SSRIs for 10 years, from 45 to 11 years, 45 to 56. And during those 10 years, I functioned pretty good, unless I was in a real downturn. And so I had three major depressive episodes within the depression, which was, in quote, managed. But those depressive episodes kept getting worse. The first one or the exacerbations. The first one, they probably increased medicine some, and I got through it. And then I got a little better, go along for a little while. But then I start reading about the disease, and I learn each recurrent major depression within depression is going to be worse than the last one. And after the second one, I'm like, oh my Lord, if there's a third one, this could be dangerous. And there comes the third one, and sure enough, it was dramatically worse than the second one. And yeah, that one started to affect my entire life. At the worst of it, I was having a hard time doing anything but going to work, seeing patients, coming home, just sitting around watching TV, going to bed, going to work, just and I had I struggled with thoughts of suicide for almost a year. And yeah,
What?
rough year.
Yeah. So you've talked about, being inconsolable and considering suicide, which is a
Mm,
powerful and vulnerable admission. What helped you hold on
mm.
until you finally found a solution, which I want to ask you about next?
That's an X. I love that question. And then, unfortunately, some of the answers I don't know. There were moments where I looked on the calendar. I still probably got these calendars, and I'd flip through like 3 months, and I circled a date. And this is in Dr. Ead's book. My story's in there, and I said, if I'm not better by that date, this is crazy. It's not. I shouldn't have to live like this. No one should have to live like this. So, and somehow or another, I would get to that date, and I would just keep going. Maybe I wasn't as bad as when I made that decision. Um, yeah, exercise helped me for a lot of years until the worst year when I lost the ability to exercise. Running helped me tremendously, and I would actually only feel good when I was about a mile and a half into a run, and it would be a very strange feeling. It would be, oh wow, okay, I can sort of think clearly here, and I'm actually feeling a little better. So exercise, valuable treatment, but it was not nearly enough. Um,
So what else did you explore besides for medications, and what ultimately
oh
got?
yeah, okay. Well, spiritual things, absolutely, and not really meditation, but philosophy, exercise, and really was never during that period. I wasn't focused on diet at all. I didn't know diet was a factor. And I was trying to do things that are supposed to make you happy. But if you ever suffer with depression to a certain level, you'll understand there gets to be a point where nothing makes you happy. That's a key hallmark of depression, where things that used to make you happy don't make you happy anymore. So then you just stop doing those. And there's a strange thing about just your mobility. I eventually got to where I just sat around. I quit running, and it's tracked on my iPhone, and it's very startling to see your steps per day. And there was that 9-month period where it was extremely low. And I wasn't paying attention to it at the time, but then as I started to get better, you can just see it ramp straight up.
So what year was that was your worst?
Yeah, 2015. Not a question. That's a fact. And
Okay.
it was yeah. And my sister, who's a nurse, actually said, you know what? Why don't you try this medicine? So I affects her, and so my psychiatrist, who I was seeing, I guess once a month, I he said, okay, we've tried a lot of other things. We'll try that. And I ended up with a high dose of that. And it actually helped. But I also got off of a couple of other ones. And honestly, Klonopin. And I don't even remember all the other ones. At one point, I was on maybe 4 different pills. And unfortunately, doctors have experience using that with patients, but there's no real evidence study wise to that, if this, you add this to that, it's going to get better. That's a rough road to go down. I now know experts who believe if one pill's not working, you probably should stop that one and add it and try a different one. And that's not the way my year went in 2015, but I'm sorry, give me the question again.
Well, tell me what, obviously you were really in bad shape,
Yep.
and what, I mean, I think that I'm interested in knowing how you found the ketogenic
Yeah.
diet, the
Okay. All right.
circumstances.
This is where I think that's all. I think this is where the story gets interesting. So now we're going through 2015. No question, the worst year, and now we get to the end of the year, and eventually I lose appetite, and I've learned from Dr. Palmer, talking.
Dr. Christopher Palmer.
Yep. Yeah. Talking with him, there is a form of depression where it can go either way. You could overeat or you can undereat. And I went that route. I was overweight, but I just lost interest in eating. And food, very bizarrely to me, started tasting bland across the board. Nothing tasted good. And so, how did I find the ketogenic diet? Well, not at that point. I was trying to not, I was losing weight too fast. I'm like, I remember so vividly going to the grocery store and buying Ensure because that has a lot of calories. At least maybe I can slow down my weight loss with this. Okay, now we're going through December, and then here comes January. I had lost some weight. I don't know what my weight was in over the December. Being very interesting to have known that. But in January, I could tell my clothes were fitting differently. I was losing weight, and it was the strangest moment. I was on 225 of Effexor, which is a high dose antidepressant, and I was walking down the street right out here, and I was like, "Wow, I actually don't feel horrible." It was like a lightning strike, and I was like, "Man, I don't even want to die anymore." This was such a crazy moment. I took a picture with my iPhone. I said, "I want to take a picture of what I'm looking at," and I got back in this room and I wrote it on the calendar, and I just said, "I want to write this down." And I've now learned this is something people with mental illness or depression should do. If you have a good moment, write it down, because 2 days from now you're going to forget it and not even believe it happened. But I had the insight to write that down because it was pretty dramatic. I actually felt decent. So there I am, wrote it down, and I do start to come out of that worst phase a little bit, and I think it was from the weight loss. So how did I find the ketogenic diet? First thing I go, well, if I'm going to start feeling better, let's at least keep this weight off. So I go to the bookstore. First book I find, How Not to Die.
Oh, no.
That's a punchline. And so I go down that rabbit hole, watch all the videos, Dr. Greger, and I knew enough to cut out sugar. So I'm still on the antidepressant. I'm cutting out sugar, and I might have been cutting out bread because I was worried about blood sugar. But it was anyway, vegan diet for 6 months, continued to lose weight, got a little better, not that much better, a little better. And then mid 16, I started hearing about low carb, high fat, 2016. And that was on Twitter. And I learned about checking your blood sugar after you eat. And so the first meal, I don't want to take too much time with this, but the first meal I checked was breakfast. My favorite breakfast was Cheerios, skim milk, and blueberries.
Nice.
Okay. And I checked my blood sugar before I ate it. It was 96. I ate it. An hour later, it was 160. And I didn't even know what that meant. I just knew that seemed like a lot for one meal. And so I didn't believe it. Next day, 96, 165. I said, well, that's real, and I don't like that. So I never had cereal again since 2016. Third day, have eggs, cheese, bacon, coffee, half and half. 96, check it again. Hour later, 98.
So you basically you started the basic tenets of keto just by your own trial and error?
Well, no, I knew that foods could affect your blood sugar, and I had learned online to check your blood sugar after you eat something, and there it was.
Do you remember any particular people that you found?
Oh, yeah, it's controversial now. Peter Attia actually was replying to me on Twitter at that point, and I asked him how soon after I eat should I check it, and he typed it back. And so, yeah, I was following Atia very closely
Okay.
then. And he was into keto back earlier, maybe as far back as 2015. And so, and then I found Ted Naiman. And then I found, and then so now we're into 2017, where I'm starting to go low carb. And I found Diet Doctor. Absolutely. Learned a lot there. And now we're in 2017, and I'm starting to think that I haven't yet heard that diet could affect your mental illness. I'm still on full dose antidepressant.
Okay.
And so, but I do notice I'm feeling better. And I'm starting to, I don't think I was questioning taking the antidepressant yet. But so then I go back to Barnes and Noble. I always went through the Psychology Today, just flipping through it, seeing if I could learn anything about my problem. And Dr. Eid had a little 3 lines there. She was going to a meeting in DC, International Society for Nutrition Research and Psychiatry, ISNPR 2017. And I was like, I'm an optometrist, but I'm going to see if they'll let me go. I signed up and went, and I was already full keto then, learning online, and like I say, Diet Doctor probably mainly. And so there I go. I drive up to DC with world experts learning about diet and mental health. And yeah, that's kind of where the miracle happens. I just said, I'm going to walk up and see if Dr. Eid will talk to me. And sure enough, she sat with me for several classes, and at lunch would sit and talk to me and explain to me how, yes, this is actually a treatment for mental illness, for depression, for schizophrenia, we know, for bipolar, for ADHD. It's a brain energy problem. And also that same weekend, I saw a talk, and I said, "Oh, Dr. Palmer." And I went down, sat next to Dr. Eid at Dr. Palmer's first public talk about keto for mental health. And this is what really hooked me in. He described 2 of his patients, and they got, it's not only keto. You need to do other things. Some people, keto is not the ultimate answer, but for me it was, and for those 2 patients it was. And so when I heard their stories, this one man stopped hearing voices based on changing his diet. And I said, Dr. Palmer's not making that up. He saw that happen in front of him. And this is powerful stuff. And so I left that meeting fall of 17, like, well, I'm done. What are carbs? I don't know what they are anymore. And therefore I then started slowly tapering off of the Effexor, which I learned years later is one of the harder ones to get off of. So I just, and I don't know what I'm doing. I now know there's something called hyperbolic tapering, and it's where you have to go extremely slowly. And I did go slowly. I was 6 to 8 months. I just kept, cutting pills, taking less every other day. And I just didn't know. I knew it was dangerous. You could have withdrawals. I had no problem. I got lucky.
And you were working with your own your own doctor?
Yeah, no, I should have been. I was going to my psychiatrist some that during that time, but yeah, just wasn't interested. I don't think at all. Still really isn't on how I got better, and so I eventually quit going. And I did it on my own mostly. Yeah, which I do. It's not dangerous, so I don't recommend that. You need to at least touch base with your provider, with your prescriber. Absolutely.
So you ultimately went completely off over a long, extended period of time, and you've now been off all of your meds for eight years.
Yep. And it's hard to explain how much you've changed, how much I changed, because it's not just that I'm back to normal. It is, that's a corny phrase, but it is a new normal because I I can handle stress better than I ever could in my prior life. Stress, bad things happen. You still get stressed, but it's as if now you have a buffer. When you're severely depressed, you're redlining constantly, and one little thing happens, and you fall off you just go off the rails. And the life since I've been fully keto and off medicine is just a different life. You don't you see a problem, you work on it, and you move forward.
So, so I've been following your journey since I first met you, and I think that's at least 4 or 5 years ago. Um, and I know that you were featured in Georgia Eads' book, "Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind."
Mm.
Um, what can you tell me a little bit about what aspect of your journey was featured in her book? Um,
It's just a brief story, and it goes through my childhood having weight issues and anxiety issues, and then how during my early adult years I tried to use diet, or not diet, I tried to use exercise to mitigate the weight problem, and how I developed I still had underlying anxiety, and then how eventually I found keto and was able to taper off all the meds, and yeah.
so what is your feeling about a system where there's um, a therapy
Mm,
that's just not offered,
mm,
that you suffered for
yeah,
many years without even really knowing that this was an option, the ketogenic diet.
yeah.
Um,
It's very frustrating, and I'm in the Metabolic Mind. On their website, they have people like me who've gotten better, and they discuss their strategies called Think Smart. So and I'm in that, and so to help people get the understand.
that's an image of you as part of Think Smart.
That was at their retreat.
Okay.
We brought in lived experience patients to discuss how they got better with diet and lifestyle. I'm trying to remember Dr. Palmer's 5 pillars. It's diet, exercise, sleep, stress, and relationships. And in relationships, he adds purpose. So it is absolutely not one thing. I went for years thinking, if everybody just fixed diet, they'd be good like me. But it's some people's brain metabolism gets disrupted by stress, by trauma, by bad relationships, and that actually causes malfunction in their mitochondria in their brain metabolism, regardless of their diet. And so those people need to have a good diet and fix those things.
Now, tell me a little bit about what drives you. You've been so involved in the I don't know what to call it, the low carb
Yeah,
community.
just an
The,
advocate, being an
the
advocate.
so you're an advocate,
Yeah.
but
Um,
you're sharing your journey publicly on social media in a way that is literally affecting other people. I mean, just being here today, there's going to be thousands of people are going to see this live stream. It's going to reside. The recording will reside on the I Fix Hearts YouTube channel. Um, you've spoken, for Metabolic Mind, and you pursue this knowledge by going to symposiums and so forth. So what motivates you to be so active
Well,
and
I know what helped me is personal stories. And I heard Michaela Peterson's story. It's still on YouTube. It's got millions of views now. It's called Digesting Depression. And even after hearing Dr. Palmer describe his patients, that was impressive. But when you hear someone like me say, I got off medicine, I'm not depressed. It's a great life. That's more powerful than reading an article from Dr. Palmer. I mean, it just is, and that's why I feel like I have to give it back to other people.
I remember sitting at an outdoor deli in San Diego with you and my wife and Dr. Christopher Palmer, and we had a leisurely lunch.
Absolutely, I remember this now. That was one of the first times I saw him since 2017. Yeah, yeah.
And I just want to tell people that we just went out to the nearby deli between presentations, and we ended up having lunch with a man who is changing the world of metabolic health and its relation to mental health. Um, just tell a little bit about those types of experiences. I mean, where you go out to dinner at a symposium, for example, and you sit next to Dave Feldman and Siobhan Huggins, and you enjoy a sunset while eating a low carb meal. There's doctors and practitioners at every table, and people are interacting and engaging. Just tell me a little bit about the importance of those activities for you in your life.
It's vital, especially early on, because doing low carb, if you choose to do this or keto, you're going to find lonely because no one in your immediate circle is going to be doing it, very likely. And so you're like you're a zebra amongst all the other horses in your local life. And so when you can go to a conference like this and see other people improving their health and learn from experts giving lectures, you realize you become part of the community, and you need a community. You can do an online community, like Dr. Avedi is doing. That's the future of medicine, is having patients get better, talk to each other, and learn from each other, and then move forward. And so the conferences are a great way to do that. And yes, these experts talking, like Dr. Palmer, like Dr. E, they're selfless. I don't know how they have the energy to talk to everybody that walks up to them, but they will.
I've seen you pretty active on X. Sometimes, you deal with people that have drastically different views, and some of them can be downright rude. Tell me about what what you've gained from X, from your experience, and what it's like navigating a world where there's a lot of people that are against the ketogenic diet, for example, and
Well,
sometimes for
yeah,
unknown reasons.
that's a learning curve. That's a steep learning curve, and maybe steep. It's a long learning curve. I love this one comic I saw where the guy sitting there on his computer, wife's in the other room, says, "Are you going to bed? Are you going to come to bed?" And he says, "No, I can't. Somebody's wrong on the internet." And that was me for quite a while. And so you have to learn to just interact with people you can learn from, and you can learn from people that don't agree with you. And Chris, you're way better at that than me. I tend to bite back and then move on. But no, Twitter's a community. And if you learn the people, and Dave Feldman, he was in the picture there, he's one of the first people I met online, and followed his work, and learned tremendously about his research.
Well, you're actually featured in the film Cholesterol Code, which Dave, along with Metabolic Mind and Wide Eye Productions, have produced. And I think I've got a picture of you here on the set. Tell me a little bit about what that was like.
Yeah, that was exciting. I was nervous as heck in that picture. You can't see it. I'd never publicly spoken about my journey. I put it out online and talked to people in person. So yeah, that was pretty nerve-wracking. But I knew it was the right thing to do. And my story in the film, which is a very important film, is I found out I had a high CAC. So, and that goes with depression, by the way. People with depression have higher rates of heart disease. No symptoms, no, I'm a marathon runner. And so, or was, and now I'm just a runner. But so my story in the movie is that, keto made me better, but then I became a lean mass hyperresponder. And if you're thin, somewhat athletic, and you eat under 20 grams of carbs a day long enough, total carbs, and they're in ketosis long enough, and your weight's stable, odds are your LDL cholesterol is going to go very high, and mine did. And so then now there's the dilemma: what do you do? And for a long time, I didn't do anything. I was like, well, this, and eventually I decided to take Zetia, which is it's good information to put out here. It's very effective in lean mass hyperresponders. Dr. Tro's written a paper on this, and it drops my LDL from like 190 to 90, or maybe it's in the 80s. Is that helping me? I don't know. I don't have symptoms. I know that. If I had symptoms like I did with statins, all those years I was on statins, I was also depressed. So that's kind of in the back of my mind. Restarted the statins, and after I found out I had the high CAC, but then I got leg pain. And then it actually was affecting my mood. I was having I could just tell my mind wasn't exactly right. So I stopped the statin and then started the Zetia. And so far so good. It's causing no problem. I'm just monitoring my heart as I go forward. And
And
yeah.
cholesterol code is coming out in the fall.
Yep. Should be around September. Should be streaming somewhere. Don't know where yet. It's going to be. Yeah, you're going to want to watch it. It's a fabulous film. There's maybe 4 personal stories in there that are tremendous of health recoveries with keto. And then there's Dave Feldman's story, which he may have been on your podcast. He's an outsider coming in, learning about heart disease, doing research, teaming with luminaries, and doing studies. And it's his story, and it's some of his findings that the Miami Heart Match analysis paper showed maybe LDL is not all they think it is.
Fascinating. I can't wait to see it. I know that some of you lucky folks got to see the preview, but I'm looking forward to seeing it when it comes out. So you said you're now 63, Eric? 64. 65. Okay, so you're 65.
Yeah, in a few weeks. Yep.
I found okay, so you're about to be 65. You I saw one of your tweets, I guess it was from a little more than a year ago. You said, I feel better at 63 than I did at 30. And you know, knowing how you fixed your mental health, and so largely through ketogenic diet, tell me first of all, have you had people like discount your story when you've told it, now that you've had the success? Have you had any doctors or other people?
Well, I hate this, and doctors just are busy. I get that. They're mostly, I'd say, the average response is, "Oh, I'm glad you're doing better." And okay, wow. I take the book that I'm in to one of my doctors very recently, and I say, you know, I'd like you to read this. My story's in here, and it's, is that for me? That was the response. Is that book for me? So it's hard, but this is just how it is. I'm sorry, but even Matt Bazuki, I don't think his former doctors are following the research. You know, they're busy. I get it, and I'm an optometrist, so I know patients aren't compliant, so they're busy. People know who's going to do this diet, you know, and so why am I going to learn about this diet that nobody can do? And,
you just mentioned Matt Bazuki, who is the son of Jan and Dave Bazuki.
Yeah.
And they are the couple who have put together Metabolic Mind, which is devoting energy, money, resources to metabolic therapies for mental health. It's been huge for this area of research, and it's benefiting a large number of doctors and other practitioners and PhDs who are working in this space. What can you tell me? Because I know you've been involved with
Yeah.
some of their efforts. Tell me a little bit about Metabolic Mind
Yeah.
and how you think the presence of Metabolic Mind has helped shine a light on this problem, and also making real changes in the research that are going to ultimately change the way mental health is viewed and is treated.
Well, it's philanthropy, and they're able to fund research studies that just aren't being done because, as Dr. Palmer says, there's no money in researching a diet. So there's no product to sell. So you're not going to get $1 million trial to understand how keto works unless you have private donors. And that's what's happening. You can go on their metabolicmind.org website and see all the research they're funding and randomized trials. And it's breathtaking to see what they're doing and how fast it's growing. So doctors can have, I understand it. Doctors are like, well, I've got a standard of care here. And if I go outside of that, I'm vulnerable because I'm doing something that's not standard of care. If it goes wrong, well, now what happens? I get that. And so their research is going to help provide a change in the standard of care. And and as Dr. Eid, says, diet is the most powerful tool in her toolbox. I mean, we have exercise, we have sleep, we have talk therapy, all very important. But if I had one that's the most powerful, it's improving the diet, and that's the one that doctors aren't using. So yeah, that's.
I just noticed that we have some comments coming in from LinkedIn. I know this woman, Cecile Seth.
Oh yeah.
She just said that she's loved following your story on social media, love your positivity and focus and helping others. And I know that Cecile is definitely not the only one who feels that way. Thank you, Cecile, for watching and for commenting. She also followed that up with talking about your story in Cholesterol Code. We are all excited for the September release. So tell me a little bit, Eric, about mental health. There's a stigma around mental health issues and problems. Probably one that has changed a little bit. I think that it's becoming.
It's becoming so common.
Well, I think you're right. It's way more common, and I think that people used to go to much greater efforts to hide mental health problems. I think what you're doing is amazing. When someone who is, keeping their mental health issues to themselves, and someone like you publicly talks about your journey and what's helped you, then even if they don't reach out to you publicly, they might, have enough courage to send you a direct message or approach you at a conference, in a hall, kind of quietly or whatever. And I know that, just talking about it helps people become more comfortable with feeling like they're not alone. So tell me a little bit about just, what it's like to have mental struggles, mental depression. And I know you've probably talked to other people who've suffered from other mental health issues. Talk a little bit about the stigma and is that part of what motivates you to be public with your?
Yeah, it's interesting. That whole idea is interesting because now, when I talk to friends who knew me then, they're like, "What? I didn't know." Because it's interesting. A lot of people just aren't attuned to what it looks like. I get maybe it's easy to hide. That seems impossible to say, given what I went through. But most of my friends after the fact are like, well, really, I didn't know you had we're struggling with that. And that's kind of surprising. Some people obviously could tell, and they said, yeah, I knew you were struggling. Yeah, the stigma needs to go away. It's and maybe part of it went away with me when I understood the disease better. And I think this is an interesting way to understand it. You have the mind, which is your thoughts, and then you have the brain, which is the biology. And you can't fix a thought problem if your biology is not working right. If your brain metabolism is messed up, you can't think your way out of brain insulin resistance. So therapy, as great as it is, you can think your way out of trauma, past trauma, dealing with that, but you can't think your way out of a broken metabolism. You can't. And so yeah, that takes away some of the stigma, or really the almost guilt of thinking, well, why did I let this happen to me? Yeah, there's where it is. I should have been able to snap out of it, because that's what everybody tells you. Nobody ever hears that. I know they will. And so when you're hearing that, you're thinking, well, yeah, I guess I should be able to snap out of it. But now that I understand Dr. Palmer's work and Dr. Ead's work, there's no snapping out of a broken brain metabolism. You have to fix the brain metabolism, and then your thoughts get better. It's dramatic. It's like your brain thinks clearly. And so yeah, the far end would be someone who has paranoia, delusions, hear things that aren't there. That's also broken brain metabolism. They can't say, well, I know that's not real, so I shouldn't be thinking that. Their brain, the software and hardware of their brain is malfunctioning. And so the stigma is people with depression thinking, well, I'm just weak. I shouldn't, other people aren't like this. Why am I like this? It's a personality fault. It's my own willpower fault. And it's the same with obesity. Once you realize you're not at fault, it's the environment you're in and the way you've interacted with it and the way it interacted with you, that created the problem. And so once I realized, yeah, it wasn't a personal weakness. This was insulin resistance in the brain.
So what would you tell someone or someone who's struggling with depression or some other mental health illness, and they've been medicated,
Exactly
or
what
if you were speaking to the person or a family member who's desperately trying to get them well, where would you tell
Well,
people to
first
turn?
thing I would ask is what have you tried? And if they've said, well, I haven't even gone to my doctor yet, well, then that's probably where you got to go first. So let's go through the list of everything they tried, and we could do that with me. Well, I tried doctors, tried prescriptions, I tried psychiatrist, I tried exercise. I didn't try diet because I didn't know anything about diet. So someone that's struggling right now, let's look at these bullet points. What have you tried of those 6 pillars Dr. Palmer talks about? And let's work on all of them. You don't have to just do diet. Let's work on all of them. But the sad fact is, I'm convinced most people feel like they've tried everything. I certainly did. I tried all the medicines they gave me. I tried the talk therapy. I tried everything. And so that was it. I've tried everything. It's not working. So that's it. You give up. I get it. But what had I not tried, of course, was diet. And I love Dr. Ead's phrase, hope is on the menu. So someone struggling right now needs to realize there is absolutely hope out there. I know there's times when it feels like that's not possible. What do you mean hope? I get that. This is new thing I haven't shared. It was, I mean, and at the time I knew it was crazy, but I would go through a checkout line at the grocery store and I'd get my food, and I'd put it in the thing, and I was probably buying frosted mini wheats. And at the, you do the transaction and they say, have a nice day. You don't know how that just was a dagger in me. And I know that's terrible to think. Why? Don't say that. Why are you saying that? Are you trying to make me feel worse? Have a nice day. That's just, yeah. I just remember that. I was like, as I was checking, I hope they don't say that.
Oh man, so it is true that you never know what someone else is going through, um, and there's a lot of people that put up
Absolutely.
a very strong exterior, and they're really going through something very very difficult with either
It's all the time.
themselves or their family members, someone that they
Yeah.
love.
You don't.
Um, since you just mentioned Georgia Ede, and we already mentioned her book, which is Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind. Um, uh, and we talked a little bit about Christopher Palmer's Brain Energy, which I think those are two books that you would probably recommend for just
Now,
any.
there's a third one, but go ahead and ask your question.
My question was any other books that are at the top of your list? I would love to hear.
Just finished one that adds a whole new piece to the mosaic picture of mental illness epidemic in this country, and it's called Unshrunk. Laura Delano, Unshrunk, just got published, and I just finished it, and it's powerful, and it has me wondering. The medicines have a place; they're life-saving, but we don't really have a lot of, other than how patients have reacted to them. We don't have what happens after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years on medicines. That's not studied. And what happens if you start someone as a teenager when they're going through, teenagers have angst. They have, it's a normal thing to have have a struggle in your teenage years. You're gonna go through some things, your hormones, whatever. What if you start someone on medicine there, and then you just keep going down the road of medicine where their problem was situational. And this is important for everybody to understand. If you can point to something, I lost my job, I got divorced, and that all happened last month, and I'm depressed. Okay, you're supposed to be. That's normal. That you can point to something, and that's normal. And but what if it was me? Business is doing well, family's doing great. We're going on vacations. I'm going to the Dean Dome to watch all the basketball games, but why am I unhappy? That's a disease. So, yeah.
We just got back when we were talking about hope. Linda Webb Rowe is watching and likes that comment, and she was. I think that was in response to your checkout story.
No.
Yeah, people sometimes have a way of saying the wrong thing.
Oh yeah, I know. It's but gosh, it lasts too long. I mean, I shouldn't have had to go through it for that long. I just didn't know all the treatments. I didn't. Once I found diet, I went all in. I mean, and one of the first papers I read, and I'm going to upset people with this, and I don't think it really did anything, but it was artificial sweeteners might worsen depression. And I was drinking Coke Zeros crazy amounts, and that was easy. If this could help me, I'm stopping that right now. If stopping junk food can make my brain work better, why the heck would I eat junk food?
Eric, what does your diet look like today?
Yeah, it's pretty repetitive. Breakfast is 3 eggs. I've moved up to 5 pieces of bacon, cheese, coffee, half and half, and I've had to add added fats in. Once your weight's stable and you don't need to lose any more weight, you have to start adding fat in, because I'm not eating many carbs. So that's lunch, or that's breakfast. Lunch is I went to Five Guys today. That's get it in a bowl, say I get a cheeseburger, which is 2 patties. I say add a patty, so that's 3 cheeseburgers. And I do say, lettuce, pickles, tomatoes, and mustard. They don't even ask me anymore. My car drives up, and they've got 3 on the grill when they see my car.
Awesome.
So that's lunch. And then dinner, it's interesting. I get less hungry as the day goes on. My dinner might be health code with yogurt. I know, Chris, you like that product, and I often use that for dinner. And yeah,
sounds like something I could get behind.
Yeah, and so
sure.
when I'm out with other people, I'll eat, and I eat some vegetables. I could eat more, but and I've forever on Twitter, I would say the fewer carbs I eat, the better I feel. I guess because I still didn't quite believe it.
How low do you keep your carbs on a daily
Well,
basis?
and I just eat as few as I can. So, and when I track it, it's probably, 30 to 50 total grams.
Okay, great. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, we've covered so much ground, and this has been a great conversation. I'm curious, especially from the seat that you're in, where you're so close to so much of what's going on in this community. What do you envision? Where do you think we're at, and what do you envision for the next, or what do you hope to see in the next 10 years, 20 years? What do you think is going to happen with the research that's going on?
Dr. Palmer was just on the Huberman Lab podcast for the second time.
Mm-hmm.
And that podcast gets millions of views. And Dr. Eve was just on Diary of a CEO. Got to listen to that one if you want to know about food and how your brain can work better. Diary of a CEO, Dr. Eve, Huberman Lab with Dr. Palmer. That's about 8 hours of podcast you need to listen to. So what's happening though, and what I think the future might be, and this is where everybody seems to think it's going to happen, patients are going to learn from people like you, me, and hearing it on Dr. Palmer on a podcast, and then they're going to go to their doctor and say, hey, how does this work? So the bottom-up approach, we're getting now with Metabolic Mind, the top-down. They're doing the research, and they're getting scientists interested. So it's going to take both, but it's such a hard battle because people, they like their food, and it's so hard. I have so many people around me that, why don't you try this? I think it could, and so that's one reason I come on here, to try to find someone out there that might be motivated to give this a go.
Tell people where they can find you. I know where I can find you, and that's on X. But tell our listeners.
Yeah. So I'm on X, and very active.
Your handle is Dr. Eric Rodgers.
Yeah,
it's
with a D. Yeah.
DRERIC.
Yeah.
RODGERS.
Yep. Dr. Eric Rodgers, and then on Metabolic Mind's website, you can see under Think Smart, you can see some ideas I put out there.
Awesome. Well,
I'd love people to contact me, and there's meetup groups out there that for mental health that using diet that are good.
Okay, well, great. I've really enjoyed this. I always enjoy talking to you, Eric, and thank you for sharing, these important parts of your journey with our listeners. I can tell we have 650 people listening right now, and the numbers are going to go up significantly once this is sitting on the iFix Hearts YouTube channel. So
please put my Twitter handle there, X handle, and I want people to ask me questions.
Great, will do.
Right.
Thanks again, and it's been a great conversation. And thanks everybody for coming in and listening.
All right, thank you.